All right, when I say the word Bible, what pops into your head? You're probably picturing a pretty simple book, right? Black cover, super thin pages filled with text, kind of like the one you might find in a hotel nightstand. But what if I told you that for our great-great-grandparents, the Bible was something else entirely? Today, we're going to crack open an object that just completely shatters that simple image. Okay, so to really get the difference here, think about this. Comparing that simple hotel Bible to the Victorian family Bible we're about to explore, well, it's like comparing a telegraph to a smartphone. I mean, one just sends a basic message, the other is literally an entire universe of applications right there in your hand. So the Bible most of us are familiar with is, well, it's straightforward. You've got the raw scripture, Genesis to Revelation. You open it, you read the text, and you're pretty much left to figure out the rest on your own. Simple, direct, and text only.
Now let's look at the Victorian version. This thing was not just a book you read. No way. The National Comprehensive Family Bible, as it was called, was designed from the ground up to be basically a complete life operating system for the entire household.
Just think about that for a second. This wasn't just for spiritual guidance. In a world of dizzying, rapid change, this was the single trusted source for information, for history, for legal records, and even for scientific understanding. It was their Google, their courthouse, and their university, all bound together in leather. All right, so let's start digging into the features of this thing. First up, this Bible doesn't just hand you the text and walk away. Oh no, it tells you exactly what to think about it. It's like it came with a theological professor pre-installed. See, look at a page like this from Genesis, and at first glance, it looks totally familiar, right? You see the main scripture, the verses laid out just as you'd expect. In this case, it's the story of the Tower of Babel. But that's pretty much where the similarity ends. And here is the key difference. You literally cannot read the scripture without your eyes being pulled down to that massive wall of text beneath it. This isn't just a footnote, it's a built-in interpretation, a guiding hand telling you precisely how you should understand every single passage. And this quote from the commentary just brilliantly illustrates how it worked. In an age of massive scientific discovery, with geology challenging traditional timelines, this commentary acts as a kind of theological firewall. It directly addresses the controversy, arguing that science and faith aren't enemies, but are just, quote, two volumes from the same great author. It was managing a cultural crisis right there on the page. And make no mistake, they were not subtle about this. Not at all. The book's preface is explicit. It says its purpose is to be a weapon, defending the family's faith against what it saw as the great threats of the day, the ritualism of Catholicism on one side and the rationalism of scientific skepticism on the other. Okay, so if the commentary was the OS's processor, the next set of features, well, that was its search engine. The appendices formed this vast index database of information for a world without the internet. It was a way to make sense of, well, everything.
For instance, it had a complete biblical cyclopedia. So if you needed to know the definition of abomination, or the history of Babylon, or who on earth the Zuzims were, you didn't go online, you opened the family Bible.
It also came with a comprehensive dictionary of proper names. Ever wonder what a biblical name like Ebenezer or Jericho actually meant in its original language? Yep, this Bible had a whole section dedicated to explaining the meaning and significance of every person and place. And then there was this, a complete chronological index of world history starting from the literal moment of creation. It mapped all of human events onto a single authoritative timeline. For the Victorian family, this wasn't just a holy book, it was the definitive history book.
So it was a theological guide and an encyclopedia, but it was also just incredibly practical.
This final set of features really shows how it functioned as an everyday toolkit for running the household and anchoring the family's identity. How much is a shekel? How long is a cubit? Well, this Bible had conversion tables. If you were reading a passage that mentioned ancient currency or measurements, you could just flip to the back and see exactly what it meant in practical, modern terms. It made the ancient world tangible. And this might be the most important part of all. This Bible served as the official legal record keeper for the family. It had these beautiful, dedicated pages for the family register, where you would officially record all births, marriages, and deaths. And this wasn't just some sentimental scrapbook. In many cases, this was the only certificate a family had for these life-altering events.
So, let's recap. It's a theological guide, a search engine, a history book, and a legal document, a complete system for the logical mind. But what about the soul? What about art and poetry? Surely that's not in here, right?
Think again. In one of the most surprising sections, it even includes translations and paraphrases in verse. It takes famous passages of Scripture, like the creation story in Genesis, and turns them into lyrical poems. It wasn't just for study, it was designed for artistic appreciation and worship too.
So when you put all of these features together, the commentary, the encyclopedia, the legal pages, the conversion charts, even the poetry, it becomes so incredibly clear. The Victorian Family Bible was so much more than just a book.
And this is why it all matters. In the 19th century, a time of immense industrial, social, and scientific upheaval, this book was an anchor. It was a self-contained fortress of information, designed to give a family all the tools it needed to understand the world, defend its faith, and record its own history.
And that really leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? This all-in-one operating system has been replaced by dozens of separate apps and devices on our phones. It makes you wonder, what common object that you rely on today will seem just as strange and obsolete in another 150 years?